This is the football show. Let's turn our attention to the Premier League, more notably the bottom of the Premier League, and more pertinently to Newcastle United after that defeat over the weekend. Things looking perilous for them as far as relegation is concerned this season. Let's go to one of their former greats, who I'm delighted to say joins us right now, and that's Warren Barton. Warren, thanks very much for joining us. Looking sickeningly well, my friend. Let's talk about the Newcastle United, shall we? And you tweeted after the defeat to Brighton, you put, sad, sad day. For you, what's going on at Newcastle United right now?
Well, everything that could go wrong is going wrong. You know, when you're talking about the style of football, the disappointment with the ownership, the style of management skill by Steve Bruce, in the sense that the tactics that he's playing, and the internal problems that I'm hearing that's coming out of the club. So everything that is going wrong is happening at Newcastle. And that performance against Brighton, I think, epitomised it. There was no energy, there was no life, there was no desire, there was no pride, there was no passion. And it's so concerning, because we all know what a great football club it is, and the fans obviously deserve better. There's some good players there, but I think they've been set up in not just this weekend. It's been going on for a number of months now. Negative football, inviting pressure on, and now it's getting obviously very, very surreal that they are going to, possibly go down in the Championship, and then anything could happen, because it's such a hard league to get out of. But it's so disheartening for everybody, because the football club is the heartbeat of the city and the people up there, and all they really want is some passion and someone that's got desire, and to go out there and wear that shirt with a bit of pride. And it's just not happening at the moment, my friend. It's just really not happening.
Yeah, Steve Bruce, we understand, though, still has the support of Mike Ashley. So how does he turn this situation around?
Well, Steve's been a fighter, and that's what first and foremost, it's not against Steve Bruce. As a player, I've played against him, and he was a leader of men. When you look at the team that he had with Mark Hughes, Brian Robson, Cam Michael, he was a leader. People like Dennis Irwin as well. But he seems like he's lost the belief of the players. They obviously have lost the belief in him. That goes without saying. I go back to the Aston Villa game, and when the players was on the floor after getting beat in that game, and him and the staff just walked down the tunnel. For me, I would go over and pick the players up and get them together and try and get them motivated. There seems to be a part of ways with the players. We've seen with the Richie story, who for me, Richie should be playing. He works his socks off. He gives everything for the team. But again, he's been put on the sideline. Gal, Carroll, at least try and put some players out there that are going to fight for the cause and fight for the team. But, from that point of view, if I was a group of players now, I'd hold a meeting and say, it's about us now. I don't want to have on my resume that I got relegated with Newcastle. Other clubs, it's part of their DNA. They go up and down. It's like yo-yo clubs, but not Newcastle United. They don't go down. So if it's me, I get together and say, forget what's going on outside. We've got to deal with it internally. And as a group of players, we ain't going down. It's not going to be us. Let Fulham go down. Let the others go down. But it ain't going to be Newcastle United. How
do you do that, though, when you've got just 2 wins in 18 Premier League games?
It's difficult, as I said, with the new coach come in, and it seemed to be a little bit of momentum, but that soon died off. That soon went around. And you look to what Steven Gerrard has done to Glasgow Rangers, is grabbed the club around the scruff of the neck. As I said, if I was players, and I was lucky enough to play with people like Alan Shearer, Rob Lee, Gary Speed, Shay Given, we would have sorted it out. Now, if I'm a player of any calibre in that changing room, I would sort it out. I would start speaking to the players. Whatever he puts out there, whatever squad or whatever system, we're going to go out there and fight for each other. And don't worry about the name on the back of the shirt. Worry about the name on the front of the shirt, and make sure that we don't have that on our resume. Now, if they've got enough leaders, if you've got enough people that have got a personality and pride, they should be doing that. They should be the ones that are trying to do it. We can all hide behind the ownership, the manager. At the end of it, it's going to be your name that got relegated. And I wouldn't want that as a player, particularly with a great club like Newcastle.
Yeah, but if we have a little look at the run-in, it's daunting, isn't it? This is just a little selection of what's ahead. Tottenham, West Ham, Liverpool, Arsenal, Leicester, Manchester City. Penultimate game, Sheffield United, followed by a final day trip to Fulham. And it could all come down to that. How daunting is what lies ahead?
Well, the pressure is on, Rob. There is no doubt the chaos that's been going on with the club for a number of months. The pressure is on all the players now, and every game now is a final, and you have to go out like it is a final and give everything for that game, because you can see how the momentum change. You get a couple of results, then you can get some confidence back, and then you can start having a little bit of a sigh of relief. But it is so tight down there. Brighton with that win, they possibly now look as a group of players, we're okay, we're out of it. They probably need another result. For Newcastle now, it is every game is a final. Every game you've got to give everything for the team and everything to try and get maximum points. They was on and that hates me to say this, Rob, they was on a semi-run where they'd drawn a few games and thought they was getting some momentum and a clean sheet. But you need to start winning games. And however you do that, I don't care. You've got to win a game and get away from that relegation zone. Because as I said, you go into that championship, and I had 2 seasons with Derby down there. It's the hardest league to get out of. And then you start falling down. You're losing everything. The Premier League where Newcastle should be. And it's such a shame, because you can see by their players, they just need a direction. You need someone to grab them by the neck and take them forward, because that's what it is now. It's not about how we're going to play our way out of it. It's how we're going to stick together and fight and have some pride and have some togetherness and have a bit of drive that we're going to get this team out of this relegation zone. And then we'll worry about things in the summer afterwards.
Yeah, there have been mitigating circumstances, though, in this run, haven't they? The injuries in particular, we saw Miguel Almiron return at the weekend, but Callum Wilson, Alan Saint-Maximin remain on the sidelines. If they could get them back, would that make any difference?
Of course it would do. Yeah, and I'm not naive enough to say it's all this one's fault and you've got to do that. There has been circumstances, but so throughout the season there has been this. Now, we got off to a great start at the beginning of the season, a good result against West Ham. The new players come in, it was buoyant, we was doing well in the table, but then the style changed. We got to a level, and then the manager comes out and says, my brief is to stay in the Premier League. You know, I'm not going to attack teams, because what he's virtually saying to his squad of players, and them players was playing at the beginning, I don't think you're good enough as a team to go and beat teams. We're going to sit back and see if we can get, like we did against Spurs, get a handball, get a penalty, get a free kick, and that might be enough to get to that magic points. Instead of, when you're in a good position, kicking on and going forward, and with them players possibly being comfortable in the league. That would be lovely, isn't it, if he was comfortable in the league. But by that circumstances, is put you in a situation, and then you get injuries, and then you get your leading goal scorer is obviously out for a few weeks. And that's the same with a lot of teams. You look at, Southampton have had their problems. Everybody's had their problems throughout the league. It's at that moment, Rob, when you get the chance to push on and make sure you're comfortable in the league and make sure you're trying to get into Europe. And that's what I want Newcastle to do, not just to be looking at a relegation zone to see how West Bromwich Albion and how Fulham and Sheffield United are getting on. I want to see how the others are going forward. But so it's snowballed into that. But you are right, Rob. I'm not going to sit back here and say, it's all his fault. But there has been 1 or 2 injuries, and obviously the COVID. The COVID thing is very, very difficult for everybody, for not just soccer players, not just football players, but for everybody. But the circumstances have been snowballing from a long time. It's not just been over recent weeks.
Yeah. On that point, then, I mean, anybody that's been to Newcastle on match day, made the walk up maybe from the station to the ground, sees the black and white shirts there, just the atmosphere, the sense of the whole of Newcastle, not just St James's Park, perhaps can understand the effect that having no crowds in there does to the players. Have they been badly hit by that aspect as well?
To be honest with you, I think it might have helped them, because if they had 52,000 people, please God, you did get them in the stadium, because people wasn't watching the games. I don't know how the players would have reacted, because the style of football and the manager, it can't be nice, because, obviously he's going into an environment where and Alan said it's toxic, and that would have come across with the fans. They would have been obviously wanting the team to do well. So it might have been a blessing in disguise for some of these players, because I don't think they would have handled it. I think it would have been untenable for the coach, the noises that would have come out. So I played there when it was electric, when you used to get there 3 hours before a game, and the hairs on your arms are standing up, and walking in that tunnel, the atmosphere, and having that pride of playing for them people, for that city and for that region. This might have been a bit too much for some of them. It might have been a bit too much for some of these players, because they want success. So that might be something that they can fall back on and say, maybe we was okay, but It is the fans who drive you on. I mean, the fans is the football club, and it sounds a big thing because how much money's involved now with corporate and everything else, but particularly Newcastle and that city and that club, that it's the fans. It's the fans that make that club. It's not anyone else. I don't care what anybody says. It's about them, and that's why we're missing them. But some of the players have probably breathed a sigh of relief because they wouldn't have been able to handle it.
Yeah. From the outside looking in, though, the start of the season looked so encouraging. While we heard tales of Rafa Benitez at odds with the board, suddenly it looked like Steve Bruce had got what he wanted. Players like Wilson, Ryan Fraser, Jeff Hendrick, you could even maybe add Jamal Lewis in there. And it looked like he'd been backed and Newcastle were going to kick on, didn't it? So what's happened? Why hasn't it worked?
And I touched on it a little bit, Rob, as well. I think they got into a good position, and then the system changed. He went into, the three attacking players that I think can cause anybody problems when you give them the ball and give them the opportunity to go forward and hurt other teams. We said we're going to let the opposition have the ball, and then we're going to sit back in our final third and try and break away. So when Almiron, Maxine and Wilson get it, they're 50 yards away from the opponent's goal. How on earth are you going to cause someone a problem doing that? Instead of what I like is playing on the front foot, being aggressive, whether you play 4-4-2, 4-3-3, however you want to camouflage it, how you're going to play. But you've got to be aggressive on the front foot. Wilson wants to score goals. He doesn't want to be defending on his centre circle and shuffling across so they can't break us down. He wants to be getting forward and get some service because he's that type of striker, I believe. You give him 2-3 chances, he's going to put the ball in the back of the net. He's not an Alan Shearer, 1-in-1, but he is a player that I think if you give him a chance, he's going to penetrate and score some goals. Almiron will hurt you. He's a busy little player. He'll try and play his little combination and do that. But you can't do that 60, 70 yards from your own goal. Going back to what I said, Rob, what he said to his group of players there, his squad, we're going to sit back because we ain't good enough to beat these. We're going to sit back and wait and hope that we can get a delivery. Then he turned around and said, Steve, we're going to play my style of football. But it's still the same of what we've seen. We've seen it at Brighton. So teams are better. These group of players are better. And I know what it's like to play for that club. Play on the front foot. Play and go and... Listen, I lost games. 4-3 against Liverpool. I lost games. But we had a bloody go trying. We had a go of trying to win a game. Not just to try and not to lose.
Yeah, you certainly did. I can remember those days. Okay, finally, just look into your crystal ball and the worst case scenario. They've been relegated twice under Mike Ashley, haven't they? Twice, though, they bounced straight back. If it was to happen for a third time, could they get the hat-trick? Or is there a huge danger that you touched on earlier that they could get stuck in the Championship? We've seen it before, Nottingham Forest, Sheffield Wednesdays. It can turn into a quagmire down there, can't it?
I don't want it to be like a Leeds United where you disappear for 13 years. And it scares me. And it literally, it does scare me that this could happen. And I just feel for the people up there. The players have to take it. They get paid, the manager, they've had their time. But I just feel for the people up there because it means so much for that area. They work so hard to support their team. And for that to happen to this group of fans and this region would be devastating, particularly what we've gone through as well, a pandemic. So to answer your question, if they go down, I dread the worst. I think, it would be a disaster for everybody. I think the people would lose their jobs in this time of environment that we have in the economy. I think you'd look at the players that you'd probably leave. And it's a great football club. It's a great area. It's great people. And they've got to give everything to players to go out there and do it. And I echo what I said. Someone needs to grab it round the scruff of the neck as a group of players and make sure we ain't going down. Because if we go down, I don't think we will bounce back up. You touched it. We had Rafa Benitez that realised what it was about Newcastle, realised that if he gets it right, they've got potential of being successful, and he would be treated as a legend up there just by having a go and being committed and being with a bit of passion and a bit of pride.